We're going to be talking about something really apropos while you have your dinner. We're going to be talking about the surprising power of the dinner hour. Now, this is really an important subject to me, and I've had so much fun getting to look into the dynamics of this because I discovered that there was a study done by Harvard University between the years of 2010 to 2020. And the results of that study came out last year, and it focused on the subject of the importance of this often overlooked topic called the family dinner or the family time together at a meal. And it was a decade of study on the subject, which was wonderful. That study came out and it was fascinating. I'm trying to talk loud so you can hear me. Just let me know if you can't, because Dave is helping me get this up tape tonight. Thank you, Dave. We found out in this study that parents were 90% in agreement. Parents think it's a fantastic thing to have a family dinner time with their families. And you would think that teenagers would say not so much, but actually teenagers, 80% of the teenagers in this group said that they really valued it because it was their best time to talk with their parents, just as the parents said it was the best time to talk with their children. So we have a golden opportunity at these dinner times together. So what is a family dinner? For the parameters of the study done by Harvard, they said it this way. If a family eats 5 to 7 times together each week, that qualified as people who consistently have a family meal, a family dinner together. So 5 to 7 times a week, eating a meal with everyone there. But here's the problem. Actually, very few families actually have family dinners together. And Americans, we all say it's important. That's why even the topic is like, yada, yada, we all know that. We think it's important. But what's really weird is only 30% of American families eat together 5 to 7 times a week. And I was very surprised at that statistic. It seemed amazing to me. And you know what else I've noticed? I get a kick out of falling asleep watching HGTV every night. And I've noticed something. The new home constructions, they don't even have a room designated for dining. They've gotten rid of that. And a lot of them don't even have a space in the house for a table, but they have these big islands, and everyone sits with chairs or stools pushed up to the island, kind of like pushing up to an old 1950s, cafe or something. But it's a different kind of eating system. And so our view of what a family dinner has changed over the years, and it's changing right now. As a matter of fact, it's fascinating to realize that in the 1950s, the time that a family would spend together at dinner was 90 minutes. 90 minutes, an hour and a half at family dinner. There was no TV interruption. They were just sitting and talking. But by 1970, after the TV had come in, that time had shrunk down to 30 minutes. 30 minutes for a family dinner was the average. But guess what? Now that we're in the age of the internet and all the social things, sort of internet stuff, I know there's a word for it, whatever, that internet stuff, the average family meal together is 12 minutes long. And that's pretty fast. You can see that our time together is shrinking. And the amount of families that are actually making that happen is a small amount too. So the question is, why does this matter? Why would I be sitting and talking about this tonight while you're eating dinner? The reason is that consistent family dinners have amazing, unexpected results. After a 10-year study, Harvard was amazed at the findings. They were astonishing. And in a nutshell, I'll tell you this. They were definitely happier families, and they had more successful children by every parameter that could be measured. The family dinner 5 to 7 times a week was a very strong predictor of future success for your child in every area. There was a measurable impact. It wasn't just something they hypothesized. They were surprised. at the impact that the family meal had on the children particularly. The study showed that physically, there were so many benefits. Physically, teenagers had a better cardiovascular system during their teenage years. All of the kids in those groups had lower rates of obesity. And they also noticed that as these children left the home, they took the better eating habits with them, and these good eating habits continued on into adulthood, which was really encouraging. So physical health was a benefit, also their minds. Listen to this, their academic performance. Who would have thought there would be a connection? But there is. They get better grades, and when they're graded on standardized tests, and 40% of those children they're 40% more likely to be on the honor roll in whatever way they're being educated. They have higher scores all the way around, and they develop language skills as they're sitting at the dinner table. Their vocabulary increases because organically through a family conversation, they're learning new words from their parents. They're getting their whole view of conversation expanded. Plus, they're developing curiosity about different topics that different family members might bring up at dinner. When it comes to their soul, psychologically, wow, there was a big impact there. Listen to this. These children who had family dinner with their families 5 to 7 times a week had less depression, less anxiety and insecurity, measurably less substance abuse, fewer eating disorders, less tobacco and alcohol use, less early teen pregnancy, and they had measurably higher rates in resilience and self-esteem. I mean, this is what we want for our children, everything that we're talking about. And it's like, and all that correlates with the dinner hour? Yeah, it does. Socially, it affects you too, because what's interesting is that dinner hour is where you develop a lot of your sense of family, because you're making memories together. I know when we get together with my brothers and sisters, there were 5 kids in our family. With my family growing up, we still tease each other about some of the conversations and things that happened at our dinner table back in the 50s. It was funny. You build traditions, and it makes you a cohesive unit. And on top of that, your child develops social skills, etiquette, skills like taking turns, like in conversation, in eating food even. And etiquette, things like don't put your elbows on the table, don't talk when there's food in your mouth being chewed up at the same time, don't interrupt each other while one is speaking. And they learn basic skills like which fork to use, things like that. They can learn at the dinner table with their parents when it's done regularly. And one of the greatest benefits is that there's just this huge spiritual opportunity, because you have a custom-made opportunity for prayer with your family at a meal. It's wonderful. You can pray with your children as a group. And there are opportunities for you to introduce spiritual values and topics that you might not otherwise have an opportunity to bring up. But the dinner table is a wonderful time to do that. So my challenge for us tonight is maybe threefold. Number one is to consider it. Just to think about where we stand, where you stand with your family, and think about the focus of what is this elephant in the living room that nobody ever talks about, the family dinner. And maybe the elephant in the living room is really an elephant in the dining room. I'm not sure. But we all agree that consistent family meals are a wonderful thing to have. But the real kicker is, why don't we do it regularly? Why aren't we doing that? What are the obstacles to our own physical families' meal times? Why don't we follow through with this? And if you are having regular dinner times with your family, how can we make the most of the opportunity? Are there any things that we can do to enhance them and even make them more effective for our children and for us? Because you know what? Ladies, if our husbands see us being purposeful about our family dinners, they're going to start to value that time together. If our children see us being purposeful, so that, I say to myself, well, how would my kids and my husband know if I'm being purposeful about it? Well, one thing is plan ahead. Instead of just slam dunking something and walking into the kitchen at 5:30 and saying, wow, what can we plop in the microwave tonight? Plan ahead. Actually think about it. And by 10 o'clock in the morning, try to have a plan in mind for what you're going to serve at dinner. And consider another thing to do. This might sound silly or trivial, but it's really important. Think about how you can make the dinner look important in the way it's presented. Consider how can you make it look like it's something, even if it's something small. Be creative. Think about your recent meals together. Just ponder that. Was it a pleasant time for everybody? Did everybody have fun? Was it enjoyable? And be creative. So consider that. And then just start being creative. I'm going to show you some things here. By the way, aren't these flowers wonderful? These are the mom-to-mom flowers that you girls brought. I love them. And they smell so good. And they match everything in my house. I love it. Thank you. So I'm going to just walk around. I put some stuff out here today, and I thought it's perfect that we're doing this at home because I can show you things. I found out that one of the most surprising things I learned was that families today, if you have a food budget, in the year 2020, over half of your food budget went to either takeout meals or restaurant meals. Over half of your budget. So that means we're spending a lot of money. We're eating out a lot, and that surprised me. But so many families will come home with a bag of food from, In-N-Out Burger or Chicken Licken or something, and just throw the bag on the counter and say, have at it, kids. But I want to challenge you to do something. It's called paper plate. But you can do something with a paper plate. Just take a regular old paper plate and serve it actually with silverware. You can even use paper towels for a napkin. It doesn't matter. But here's the magic. This is the magic. Buy a bunch of these chargers. You can get them anywhere. Michael's has big sales on them all the time. They make a solid place to put a flimsy paper plate. And you put anything on a charger and voila, you have gone from just the mundane to something very fancy. It's very fancy. But with takeout food, you can still have a wonderful time with your family by bringing it home and doing this, making it an event. Or the day might even come, we can go back into a restaurant and sit down and eat together in a restaurant. Woo! That could happen one day. And if it ever happens again, you can have a family meal all together in a restaurant. That counts too. You can do this. Be creative with your takeout. Sit down, be all together in the same place at the same time, and talk to each other, look at each other, and present dinner in a way that says, you are important to us. This is important to us. I know we got these dishes when I was the kids were at home, and after we had the little kids, they had Corelware because you could drop it and it wouldn't break. But then we got real breakable dishes, and that was fun. But we need to be creative and show that it matters to us by doing something that we would do even if there were company. For example, have you ever done something and your kids came in and said, "Who's coming to dinner?" Actually, for me, that was a bit of an indictment because it meant that I didn't do it except when company was coming, which was kind of sad. So that's why I decided I would get some real plates and use them with my children. Years ago, there was a Christian woman, a teacher named Edith Schaefer, who was fantastic. She had great suggestions for home and family. And she said, no family should be without fresh flowers. And she was right. Thank you, moms, for bringing that to me. You can have centerpieces. I would recommend having a centerpiece. You can just get some old clunky candlesticks and put those in there. You can just have your kid, if you don't have flowers in your yard, you got weeds out there, I bet. Go get some weeds. Have the kids pick some weeds. But whatever it is, just plop something on the table and make it fun. Make it interesting. Change it out every day. And have a tablecloth. Hey, you can do tablecloths. They're on sale all the time. This time of year, Wayfair has tons of them on sale. At least they did right after Christmas. They probably still have some on clearance. But we also have other things you can do. Maybe you need to just have placemats. We have placemats that we can use to make it, like, jazz it up a little bit. And sometimes your kids can even make their own placemats. You can make a placemat for your children so they can learn, laminate it. They can learn how to set the table. Or you can have special events, like maybe a Thanksgiving one, and they draw pictures. You can laminate that and they can use those. But make it special and pull them out. Shake it up a little bit. Change things around a little bit. One thing also you could do is just be creative, not only in the way you set the table, but setting the tone for the dinner itself. How do you call your children to dinner? What do you do? Well, do you yell at them and just get out there and scream come on, dinner's ready? I want to encourage you to now this sounds weird, but I was raised by a Southerner. How about, instead of sending another child out to scream down the hall, supper's ready, how about ringing a bell? That tells the kids supper's ready. And there's a time limit that they have to get to the table. Now, if you have a big house, you might need a bigger bell. That works too. We had to use the big bell most of the time. But now, Dave and I, we can use a smaller bell because it's just the two of us. But I would just set the tone for that and be creative with the food itself. I want to encourage you, if you have older kids, let them try cooking. Let them have a night a week to cook. Or have input into maybe what kind of a menu you want to have. You might be surprised that they have some good ideas. Some of our children, our grandchildren and their families, they have like Taco Tuesday or Pizza Friday, things that the kids like, and it's very special to get them or to make them. But make it fun. Make everything fun. You might even at dinner have something fun called, do a backwards night. You could, serve dessert first. Just tell the kids it's a backwards night. Serve dessert first, then you have the vegetables, then you do the meat, and the last thing is a salad and a piece of bread. I mean, you could just make it fun. So keep them guessing, but make it fun and have them understand that you put some thought into this. It could be a lot of fun. And then be creative with the conversation. Do you have one child that dominates the conversation? We sure did. We had to actually kind of get a hold of that we have a plate down here that says you are special, but we also had something called the Star of the Day. Now, because we had so many people that were so loud and so chatty in our family, and one would dominate more than another, we had the Star of the Day so that every day of the week we had one person that was the star. And so on that day, they would get to talk first and get first dibs on any leftovers that were special. Something that would just make it possible for everyone to participate. That's the goal. Make your dinner table pleasant and not stressful. Supper's not the time to jump on them for not making their bed this morning. Save that for later. But you can bring up other things and let it not be argumentative, but try to keep it positive. Keep things fun. You might even have an Eeyore in your family. Just make things fun. One thing you can do is have like a question of the day. Have just random questions. They pull it out, and then maybe the Star of the Day can read it. Fun things like if you were going to go to the moon, what 3 things would you take with you? And if you could only take 3 things, then why would you take those things? And have them talk about it. Or you can control the conversation by saying to all the kids, hey, it's time for us to talk about our roses, our thorns, and the buds. The roses are what good things happen today. The thorns are the bad things that happen. And the rosebuds are the things that I hope will happen tomorrow. Don't censor their comments or their responses, at least unless they're totally inappropriate. But just listen to them. You'll get to learn a lot about your kids, and they'll get to know each other. So be consistent. As I close, be consistent. Consider it, be creative, and be consistent. Pray about it, and just take little steps. Think of what you can do with your family. Try to have your husband on the same page, because that will go a long way to success in your home. And have him on the same page, and your children will pick it up really fast that this is a team effort. Incorporate your husband's suggestions, and really don't be discouraged if everybody just doesn't say, yeehaw, this is a great idea. I'm so glad we're doing it differently. Just give them time. They'll see that if you're consistent, they'll get on board. But pray about it and ask the Lord to really bless your family through that family dinner. Because you know what's true about family dinners? It's a really big deal to God. If you look at Scripture, when God communicates to us and has a covenant with men, more often than not, there is a meal included. It's fascinating. There is a meal included at a covenant between God and man. Also, when Jesus was on earth, the best time he had of teaching that is recorded is that time right there with his disciples at the dinner table at the Last Supper. And the Lord has promised it. Guess what he's doing right now? He's preparing the dinner table for us. It says he goes to prepare a place for me. And it also says that he sets a table before us. We see that in Revelation and clear back there in the Psalms. So for today, we know that the picture of the dinner table is so huge, ladies. I want to encourage you to make the most of it, because what God says about you as a wife is this. He says to the husband, your wife will flourish in your home. It will be a fruitful grapevine. And your children will be like vigorous olive trees around your table. So let's make the most of these times with our children around our tables, because this is designed by God and has such potential for blessing in your family. It would rock your world, and it could change theirs. So enjoy your time with your family. Thank you for your time, and enjoy your meals. And as you're going to have discussion time now, I'll be back in just a little while. See ya.